Hey, everybody. I wanted to give you guys a brief introduction to the how to program the PCB that you have for Lab 3. If you look at that PCB, what you'll find is that it has some connections that I currently have jumper wires plugged into, and those connections are marked E, T, R, and there's a G that you can't see. If you look on the PCB, then on the Eagle schematic, then you'll find it. Now, those connections are wired up to the launch pad. So you can see that I've removed the jumpers from the pins that are marked SPW, TCK, SPW, TDIO, 3.3 volts and ground over here. And these are the ones that you use to program a launch pad. So this is the debug interface, remember, and then this is just a simple MSP430 that's connected just by these jumpers. So we disconnect them. So this is not being programmed. Instead, this is being programmed. Now, the SBW TCK and SBW TDIO stand for SPI by wire. That's the programming interface that the MSP430 uses. And if we look at the data sheet, what we'll see is that another name for those is test and reset, test and reset. And so the T stands for test and the R stands for reset. And so that tells you which pin the T should connect to and which pin the reset should connect to. I think I've posted already on Slack a link for the schematic for this board. It's exactly the same as the one that you guys are putting together, except that these buttons are connected to port 3, which is available on this 32-pin device. Turns out that the port 3 doesn't have the port IO module, the port interrupt modules. So the sample code that you guys have for your boards, which will allow the board to go into low power mode 4, which means it turns off completely, it's waiting for a button interrupt, won't work on these boards, unfortunately, even if you modify it. So you can't just modify it to change those things to being port 3 interrupts. So how do you program it? If you guys, hopefully you've already done a lab where you loaded up Code Composer Studio, but I'll just remind you that once you have it connected like this, remember the wires are connected here, VT, R, and G are connected to the SBW, TCK, SBW, TDIO, 3.3 volts and ground. Oh, and there's something important, which is that if you look on the PCB, you can see that there's the jumpers normally connect across these two pins, right? So you want to connect to the side of the jumper that's on the programming side, so this debugger system side, as opposed to the launchpad side, the MSP430 side. If you connect to the MSP430 side, you're basically connecting to nothing. So get some of these jumper wires. You can buy your own on Amazon. Maybe you have some from 220 left over, and also there should be a big stash of them in the lab. These come in both in all various kinds so that you can connect. If you decided, instead of putting pins to put a socket onto your board, then you can find the ones that will plug into that as well. All right, so you've got it wired up. And the thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to Code Composer Studio. Here I've taken the sample code that is on GitHub for this lab, and you're going to copy it into a new project, and you'll compile it. So we'll click on the hammer, which is the build button. And then you'll click on the little bug, which is the debug symbol, which will upload it actually to the board. And then you can see that right now, before you do anything, nothing's happening. And that's because the debugger starts with it not running. So it starts with the code stopped. So the last thing you have to do is you have to hit this play button, and then it'll start it going. And then what we'll see is that our LEDs are flashing. Now remember, this is not the solution to your homework assignment. You're supposed to make them flash in a different pattern. All right, good luck. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.